For someone whose entire career has been focused on joy, why a podcast on pain? Because these stories need to be told. A good phoenix rising out of the ashes story reminds us all that not only can we survive, we can thrive. And when we emerge, we're different. That's the alchemy of pain. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of The Alchemy of Pain, where people share their stories of very painful times in their life. But what happened after? What they became as they dealt with the pain, and how it changed them in ways that they would have never asked for, but yet seemed necessary for them to fulfill their purpose. And I'm honored to share this podcast today with a friend of a friend, actually the husband of a friend, my friend Miriam, who I plan on interviewing soon. This is her husband, Paul Isenberg. Paul, welcome to this
Thanks,
podcast.
Brenda. So glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
You are the founder and CEO of an organization called Bringing Hope Home. Let's start there. What is Bringing Hope Home? And then we'll get into why it actually came to be.
Yeah, sure. I'm the co-founder along with my partner, Timmy Sherry. We are a charity nonprofit 501c3 located in southeastern Pennsylvania. And our mission is to provide emotional and financial support to local families with cancer. We do that by paying household necessity bills, building a community for these families and letting them know they're not alone, and trying to include them into the events and the things that we do. To date, we have helped. We're 15 years old. We were founded in 2008 from a situation that I had, that I lost my late wife to a 6.5-year battle with stage 4 Hodgkins disease. And we had the best of a tough situation. We had great benefits, great employers, family, friend, community, school, church support. And it was still really hard. And my late wife, Nicole, who was 5'0" and a big heart, didn't understand how people went through cancer alone or disadvantaged. So what we do is we get nominations from the social workers at the hospitals. We're in 6 states. We're in about 100 hospitals, and these families get nominated to us, any type of person, any type of cancer, and we pay rent, mortgage, utility, car payment, food. And all they have to do is be in active treatment, be in our service area, and be nominated by the social worker, and then we pay the bills.
So right then and there, what a beautiful outcome of a very difficult, painful period in your life. And so I'm assuming that the pain that changed you forever was losing your beautiful wife, Nicole.
Yeah, it was. She was sick for a long time. Like I said, 6.5 years. She was diagnosed when she was 9 months pregnant with our youngest child, Gabby. And we had a 2-year-old son, Christopher, and then Gabby came, and then Nicole went right into treatment after Gabby's birth and was sick for a long time. And the one thing that cancer does is it affects everybody, right? And so here at Bringing Hope Home, the way that we kind of help, we help families. We don't help patients. There are families, and you're not allowed to use the patient word in our office. It's a $1 fine. So we help families with cancer because we want to take care of the whole family. That's important to us.
Let's take me back to before the C word.
Mm-hmm.
Paint a picture of what your life was like. Now, this was the first great love of your life.
Yeah, so it took me 4 years to get a date with Nicole. We went to college together. I was introduced to her by a friend, mutual friend. Nicole was a really good girl, always had a serious boyfriend. I was having a really good time in college and was not worthy of any decent woman in college. And Nicole, like I said, always had a boyfriend. I was always keep kind of tabs on her without stalking her. And then my senior year, I graduated. I went to lunch at a restaurant near the campus with my family, and Nicole was working there, and I knew I knew the owner's son, it turned out. And I said, does she work here all summer? He said, yeah. I said, you got to get me a job bartending. So I got a job bartending at this restaurant and got her to go out with me after a couple weeks. And we went to Denny's on a Sunday night because it was the only place open. And just, I was completely taken by her, completely taken by her. And we got married in 1991, and we were very happy. She was sweet and kind and beautiful, and uh, really made me better. And then Christopher came, and we were happy, and Gabby came, and we were happy, and then she got sick, and we were still, for the most part, pretty happy, other than her being obviously sick. And she, she was, some of the treatments weren't completely crushing, but she ended up having a lot of chemo, a lot of radiation, 2 bone marrow transplants. She really went through it, and
Oh my good.
passed August of '03. And but we had so much support. There was always somebody at the house, and kind of made things more pleasant and fun. And Nicole was all about other people, and she had a great faith and would offer her suffering up to God, and really was so strong, and so um, she had such grace through her journey, through her pain and cancer, such grace.
I love the way you're painting a picture of her. I never had the privilege of knowing her, but just the way you've described
Oh,
her,
she was great.
feel like I had the privilege of knowing her. And so, how did the sickness first present? She was pregnant. So, did she originally think, oh, this is just part of the pregnancy?
Yeah, and that's what kind of took us a while to get her diagnosed. Is she wasn't gaining the kind of weight that she had normally gained. Like with our son, she gained 30 pounds. And like I said, she was tiny. And then when she became pregnant with our daughter, she gained like half of that. And she had a cough that we explained away, that it was wintertime when she was pregnant. And then she had itchy skin, and that was dry skin because it was cold. And then one day she had great energy, but she couldn't catch her breath like a lot. Like she would get winded. And when we would walk Christopher in the backpack and our dog, and Nicole was pregnant, we'd walk into town, and she'd get like 3, 4 blocks in and be like, I'm winded and I don't know what's going on. I can't catch my breath. And then one morning she got up and she's like, I can't breathe. So I'm going to go to the doctor. You stay here with Christopher. And she called me a little bit later and said they had found something on a scan, and she had a big mass right between her lungs that were sitting on her lungs. And that's when it all started. But she was just great. She was all love and joy and goodness, and animals and kids loved her. And
They're
she's
judges of character.
They really are. And she was just all good. She was just, I mean, she altered my life, right? She changed the course of my life for the good, I think.
So here you are facing a spouse with a dire condition. How
Mhm.
did you manage every day? Like, were you on autopilot because you had now 2 young children and your wife was ill? How did you keep things going
Well,
personally?
I think a big part of that is we have such a great family. I'm still close to my mother-in-law, Nicole's mom, and her family's so great. They were right there for us. My family was right there for us. We had so many good friends that were right there for us. That's a big help. And I think when you have people that depend on you, there's that old joke, moms and dads don't get sick days. There was stuff that needed to be done. There were kids that needed to be taken care of. There were lunches that needed to be made. There were school work that needed to be done. You had to go back. I had to go back to work. There was stuff to do, and you got to figure it out. And you're tired. And, you're not always your best self, but you just got to get up every day. It's not very complicated. It's very simple, but it's very hard. So I'm kind of a grinder. I'm not that bright and I'm not that talented. So I just kind of get up and go to work every day. And I think when you're faced with tough times and pain and challenges, sometimes you just got to go to work. You just got to get up and go every day.
Hmm. Someone once said, in answer to the question, how do you build resilience? And the answer was, do hard things.
Do hard things.
Do hard things. So you continued to function because people were depending on you.
I don't think
And
I would have functioned nearly as well had I not had younger children.
hmm,
That's I really mean that. Like if I didn't have somebody to take care of and people that I loved, it probably would have been a different story.
hmm. I you know my story, and I
Mhm.
lost my partner Mark, and I never had children, but having my little dog Shasta
Hmm.
needing me to walk her every day, and knowing she depended on me fully to feed her, to walk her, to take care of her, it got me out of bed in the morning.
Yeah.
So having a reason to get out of bed in the morning is so important for our mental health. This podcast is for people who may be going through a tough time, and everybody's got a different take on how to get through it. The point is to give people hope. And I love that your organization is called Bringing Hope Home. And in fact, it started with an idea from Nicole, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. So because she was sick for so long and we had little kids, she was a stay-at-home mom. So I was working and then trying to make sure I was doing whatever Nicole and the kids needed me to do. I would come home and say, I don't see anybody anymore other than at work. And, I ran into Brenda today. Brenda's a great guy. I never get to see anybody. And Nicole said, why don't you hold an event and raise money for a charity and invite who you like? So we started what we call the Great Guy Dinner. And we did it for 7 or 8 years for the benefit of the American Cancer Society. And then between year 7 and 8, one of our great guys passed away, and we heard his wife and kids were struggling. So we went to one of our donors and said, every year you write a $5,000 check to the American Cancer Society for the dinner, because we weren't even an organization yet. We said, why don't you write them a $3,000 check, give us the 2,000 in cash, and together we'll give it to this family. And that's how we started. And then my co-founder Timmy Sherry and I kind of looked at each other and were like, you know, based on our experience, because he had lost his father at this point, and there's a lot of bills that it's challenging to pay if you're the sole earner or you're in debt and you get hit again with costs, or you got to pay for medical treatment, or you can't work anymore. There's a significant financial hit that families take. You can have full medical coverage and still be $10,000 in debt every year. So what we try to do is we come in, we raise money through different events and through great donors and foundations, and then we pay the bills directly and try to give these people a bridge over a tough time. And to date, we're at I saw it this morning. We're at I think 9,300 plus families that we've helped since we've started. So we're going to cross 10,000 families next year sometime. But there's just so many people that need help. The need is so great.
And so it speaks to Nicole's heart,
Mhm.
even as she was facing her own challenge. She thought of other people and how getting a bunch of great guys together could make
Mhm.
a difference in our lives.
Yeah, well, that event's still going on. I think I'm looking at the calendar where it's our 23rd year coming up in 2024 of the event.
Wow. Hey, right at this point, let's talk about Bringing Hope Home and how people can honor Nicole's memory and help families dealing with a cancer diagnosis. How do people find you and how do people support it?
Yeah,
And yet, there's more to your story I want to get to as well.
that's
But
fine. I appreciate you letting me make the plug where people can go to
yeah.
bringinghopehome.org, bringinghopehome.org. We're a nonprofit. We're pretty highly rated, and they can make an individual donation, a company donation. They can sign up. We do events throughout the year, and those events are on the calendar. But they can go to bringinghopehome.org and make a donation, and that will go to help families with cancer.
That's amazing. Can you think of a particular story that touches your heart when you think of a family that was helped? Maybe paint a picture for us.
There's so many, right? So year one, we helped 10 families when we started. This year, we're going to help over 1,000. And this one in particular, it's a lovely, lovely woman. And our families that we help, we get really close to some of them because they as a family are open to it. And then some of them are not as open to it because they're going through a rough time and they're in a rough spot. And we get that. So we don't ever require anybody to get connected to us. We just want to help them. For this one family, they raised their kids, and she had head and neck cancer, and she's had a ton of surgeries, and we paid some bills for them, and we've stayed connected to them, and they go out and speak for us, and they raise money for us, and they're just completely connected to us, and we know their whole family, and they're super loving. And she is a rock star, and her husband's a rock star. She's had a ton of surgeries where her teeth were damaged. She lost an ear. She's had her jaw reconstructed. And whenever you see her, whenever we get to run into her, she's upbeat. I love you guys. I'm here for you guys. What you did for me was so great. And as I look at her, I'm so inspired. I mean, she just get emotional, right? She just spoke for us at a big pharmaceutical company, and she comes in, she looks like $1 million, and she's just all light and all good and kind, and she embodies kind of who we are. She's just energy and sweetness and love and faith, and to be connected. And that's what I think I love most about what I get to do every day, is we get to talk to people, and people let us into their lives at a very intimate, hard time. Like when you're in pain, when you're going through it, like you went through it after you lost your mark, you're never any more vulnerable than you are at that moment. And people let us into their lives, and yeah, we're helping them, but it's a small amount of impact versus the gift of being connected to these families.
Mm.
It's a very special, humbling, intimate moment. We're connected to these families forever. Like I was just at a restaurant yesterday morning having breakfast. We helped them, or they got connected to us. And then there's a taco place where I live, and one day I was in line, and I wear Bringing Hope Home stuff all the time, right? And it was like a summer day, and it was wearing a t-shirt and gym shorts. And the woman taking my order says, "Wait, you know the people at Bringing Hope Home?" I said, "Yeah, I work there." And she gets all teary-eyed. We helped her husband. We helped him at Thanksgiving. We helped him at Christmas. She starts crying. I start crying. She's hugging me. Now we're like connected forever. It's like running into family. That's why family is such a big part of who we are. So I hope I answered your question.
That is beautiful. I'm thinking actually, because when you said how important family was for you as a coping support system, not everybody has family, but then there is the family that God, the universe, whatever you want to call it,
Brings into you.
provides for you to undergird you and support you at those dark times.
Mm-hmm.
They show up miraculously.
Yeah.
So here, Bringing Hope Home would never have existed if not for the very painful period of your life and the loss of Nicole. And it was even her idea, ultimately, how this whole thing happened. You talked about how family was a key for you. You talked about having a reason to get up, people that depended on you, and just plowing through and going to work was also a help. And then this third element giving back. These are three very powerful tools that anyone in a dark time can draw from. So then you went through the very painful experience of losing her. She
Mhm.
transitioned. What was your life like then? I mean, I know you still had to work, you still had your
Mhm.
family, and you still had now this charity initiative, maybe not full blown yet, but how did you get through? Let's talk about grief for a moment, because
Mhm.
no matter how well prepared you are or aren't for losing your partner, grief sucker punches you
Mhm.
and surprises you sometimes.
Mhm.
As a man, how did you cope with grief?
Grief sucks. Grief's hard. Grief's challenging. Grief's tiring. Grief is unrelenting at times. Um, for me, I think it was about, I knew when Nicole was going to pass away. I think about a year before she did, because she wasn't responding to the some of the treatments as well as she had, and she had really been through it. Was a warrior, so I started to prepare myself. Um, but I think one thing that was sad, but also a blessing, is I got to be there for her, with her when she passed. I got to see her. She went peacefully, which helped. Um, she It was very, very sad, but she was done suffering, and that was, I got to the point where my faith is real important to me, and I was praying to God, if you can make her better, but if you don't want to make her better, it's not your plan, then just take her, because this isn't what I want for her. So
Mhm.
she went pretty peacefully. I think the hardest part of that day, she wanted my kids out of the house, so they weren't there when she passed away. And they were at friend's house playing. And when they came home, I had to tell them. And that was brutal. That was just brutal.
How old
But
were they?
8 and 6.
Oh,
And it's impacted them throughout their life. They miss that. I've remarried, and a wonderful woman, as you know, and she's a widow, and so there's a lot of commonality and a lot of understanding. But we all got stuff, right? We're all challenged in some way. We're all impacted by grief, but I think the way that I dealt with grief was I kept busy. Like I said, with two young kids, there's a lot to do, a lot of therapy. You know, I cry a
ooh,
lot.
there are people that are like, I'll handle this. So you found it very helpful to seek professional help.
Yeah, but I was one of those, I got it, leave me alone, I'll take care of it myself, guys. That was the dumbest thing I ever did. If I could go back in time and change my decision on that, I would do it in a heartbeat. Therapy is fantastic if you get a good therapist, right? And
Mhm.
but there's it's hard to carry all that stuff, especially when you care for other people. But therapy is a tool, like anything else. Like working out helps you clear your mind. Taking quiet time when you can. That's all part of it. But my faith
Mhm.
was real important to me. That's a big outlet
Mhm.
for me personally. Um, Therapy, which I don't really do anymore. Uh, but and then you got to get back to life. I mean, you can get back to life and keep living without forgetting. Like, you never forget anybody. You don't forget your loved one. You don't That pain never goes away. Like we were talking earlier, I mean, Nicole's been gone 20 years, and I cry like it was yesterday sometimes, and sometimes it feels like yesterday, and sometimes it feels like 20 years. And I'm watching my kids grow up, and they're happy and they're doing well. I'm watching them grow up, and she's not here, and I wish she was, just to see them. I talk to her. You asked me if I talk to Nicole, and I do, and we talk about stuff. She doesn't answer me, or I don't hear the answer, but I ask her to watch over the kids, and her family's important to me. So I think a lot of it, a lot of grief, in my opinion, just from my perspective, it's you got to grind. It's not a go talk to this person or take this pill or live this way and everything's fine. That's not the way it's worked for me. For me, it's the kind of thing where get up, go to work, do what you got to do, try to be the best you can. You got to make the choice to try to be happy. You got to seek it. You got to work for it. You got to figure out what works for you. You got to be around good people that have your best interest at heart, that'll tell you, we love you and we know it's hard, but we're here for you. And time for you to, to get your head out of your butt and get to work.
Love the way, I appreciate the candor, and you're so forthright with the way you say a thing, and I really appreciate that.
Well, usually people don't like that, so
I like it. I like it
I
very much.
appreciate that. But you gotta control what you can control. Like you have to show up for work and you gotta look, okay, I'm gonna make it to lunch. And I'm not gonna break down till lunch. And then I'm gonna go sit in my car and I'm gonna be sad, or I'm gonna be angry, or I'm gonna go for a walk and I'm gonna talk to God and ask him what the heck he was thinking about and how come this happened. Or I'm gonna go to church, or I'm gonna do something healthy. Whatever it is that you need to do, we do it here, right? We've helped over 9,300 families with cancer. We lose a lot of families that are close to us, and we go to a lot of funerals. I go to a lot of funerals, and it's hard. It's really hard, and you see these families struggling. And I think one of the reasons that Bringing Hope Home has stayed around for 15 years, and hopefully more years to come, is that we understand and we want that family to be okay. And we can't impact the ending of their cancer journey, whether they get cured or they pass away. We can't, that's not in our job description. Our job is to give them some relief, give them some peace, get them crossed over to another financial place where they're okay, keep them in their house with their lights on and food on the table, and make them feel cared for and make them feel that people care, because we do. And at the end of the day, that's all we can do, is make somebody's journey and somebody's burden a little bit better, a little bit lighter. And we do that because we've been through it. And I really believe to my core that if you have experiences that can help other people, if you've been given a set of experiences and challenges and problems and solutions in life, it is incumbent upon you to make it easier for other people. And if you don't do that, I think it's akin to a sin. I really believe that.
There is actually a scripture. It says, when it is in your power to do good and you choose not to, it is evil. And
Yeah.
I think what you just said is the very reason I started this podcast, which
Yeah.
is I wanted to make sense of the pain. And I'm still working through it. I admit will likely be the rest of my life, but in the hope of bringing hope to other people who are going through
Yeah.
a dark time. You said that Nicole made you a better man.
Mhm.
And she was gone. Who are you now?
Oh God, who am I now? That's a very deep question. Um, I think I am a man who works really hard to be honest and to be my true self. I think at 58 years old, I've realized more what my true self is. I'm completely broken, and I know that, and I'm trying to pull it together to be a good example for my kids and my family and my wife. And I just want to take care of families and help families and be happy.
I love that. All right, this is the part of your story that I am totally interested in too.
Okay.
Because, when you have had a love of your life and you lose them,
Mhm.
my mom, when she lost my dad, said, never again, never. I've had a great love. I will never have such a love again. So she stopped. And I remember as a little girl saying, if I ever am in that position, I want to love again. And so fast forward to a few years ago, and I was in that position. Now, I wasn't ready
Mm.
right away, and I'm sure you weren't ready. When did you know you were ready to love again?
I so Nicole passed away August of '03, and I got a call from Miriam, who um the people I went to college with Miriam and Michael, her late husband. I played football with Michael. And but I didn't know Miriam. And I was introduced at Little League Baseball opening day because our boys are the same age, they're 3 days apart. So I was introduced by mutual friends. One of them was a contractor at opening day baseball. Nicole was there. And that was in April of '01. Michael passed away the following September. And then Nicole passed away August of '03. And when Nicole passed away, the contractor buddy who introduced us was doing a project at Miriam's house and mentioned to him that Nicole had just passed and that she should reach out as a young widow to me to help me navigate. And Miriam reached out and we started having lunch. And she connected me to a therapist for the kids and gave me some books to read and was very kind. And we were not even remotely attracted to each other. I mean, she's a lovely woman, but I was not there. And I remember having lunch with a friend of mine outside on this beautiful day. And before Nicole passed, we had to put our dog down. The year before Nicole passed, we had to put our dog. So we didn't have a dog when Nicole passed. So I'm sitting at lunch, having lunch with my buddy Tom, and Tom's questioning me. Hey, you going to lunch with this woman? I'm like, yeah, she's a great lady. She's widowed. She gets it. Well, what's going on? I go, nothing's going on. He goes, no, what's going on? And I said, no, nothing's going on. I swear. He goes, well, I think something's going on. I said, Tom, I said, nothing's going on. He said, no, I don't think you think something's going on, but I'm telling you something's going on in your head. I can see it in your eyes when you talk about her. Something's going on and you don't realize it. That was a moment. And then this as he's telling me this woman comes walking by with this puppy, beautiful little golden retriever puppy. So I stop her. I said, hey, excuse me. I said, do you have the information for this dog? Because I want to get my kids a dog for Christmas. So she gave me the card. So I'm thinking now, I'm all in my head. I'm like, oh, I'm going to get a dog, but holy smokes, I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know what's going on. So I called Miriam and I say, do you want to go with me to look at these puppies out in this farm country? So I picked her up and we used to meet for lunch. We never were at each other's homes or anything. So I picked her up and we drove an hour to look at these dogs, had a great time, laughed, came back, laughed, and then we started doing more together.
Good. It must have felt so good to laugh with someone.
It did, but it was also scary, right? You don't want to be disrespectful to your late spouse. This is like not too long after Nicole passed, right? And so long and short of it is we started seeing each other more. We started doing things with the kids more. We were busy because being a single parent with two kids, you're busy. You're just being a parent with two kids with other parents, you're busy. Um, and then I went to my therapist and he goes, tell me about this relationship. So I was telling him and he goes, well, how do you feel? I said, I don't know. I said, I really like her. She's wonderful and she's kind and she's loving, but I just lost my wife. I don't want this to be a rebound thing. I don't know where my head is. I don't want to be disrespectful to anybody. I don't be disrespectful to her, my kids, her kids, our families. I don't want to be disrespectful at all. And he said, well, when did you know Nicole was going to pass? And I said, well, about a year before. He said, well, you've been probably in mourning about a year. He goes, and what would Nicole think about this? I'm like, well, she told me she wanted me to find love again. Like she gave me permission. And he said, well, how do you feel about that? And I was like, well, I feel good about it, but I never thought I'd get, because I don't want to date. I don't want to, I don't want to date people. I want to be married. I got married at 26 years old. We were married for 12 great years. I don't want to date. That sounds terrifying to me.
By the way, note to Paul and all of our viewers, it is terrifying.
I
It is
can only
not,
imagine.
yeah.
I can only imagine. So, and then, we started talking, we started having more real conversations, and I realized that we matched up on faith and family, which I think are the two biggest things about marriage. And don't get me wrong, being married and blending four children is a lot of work. And if I had known how hard it would have been, I don't know that I would have done it, but I'm glad I did. Now the kids are grown and they're all really great young people and they're all doing their thing. And it's wonderful. But it was a scary time. And some family members struggled with it and really didn't react well and weren't happy about it. And so there's a lot there, right? Because when you blend a family, you blend everybody. So we have four sets of in-laws. We have kids, we have grandchildren, we have a lot going on, and so it was a lot. It was a lot of navigation.
I've interviewed people who have lost a spouse and that merging and the family pushback. And I'm always a little bit surprised by it because I know in my own life, there are so many people in my family that are just hoping for to have another, happily ever after, and yet in no way would it dishonor the relationship I had.
Right.
And so you had to navigate not just the blending of children, but also sort of winning over the people on the sidelines.
Well, yeah, but no, like I think people react the way they do because there's a lot of pain, right?
That's
A
it.
lot of people have a lot of pain, and pain comes out in different ways with different people. So once you get over kind of the initial irritation that people not responding the way you think they should, which is the wrong way to look at it, you kind of let people get to where they're going at some point on their own. And Nicole's mom has been great. My mom's been great. Families have been great. Her family's been great. And but you also have to put boundaries in place that, we told everybody you're going to be as big a part of our lives as you want to be. And if you can't be part of it, I get it. And if you want to be part of it, we'll figure it out. And, also from my perspective, any issues that went on in the family, I had as much to blame in it as anybody else because I had a very strong sense of what I think should be the way it's handled. And that's not fair to other people who are going through painful time. So I think, you asked me who I was, who I am now. That's the kind of thing where I'm more self-aware that I can be a smacked ass. I don't mean to be, but you can make it harder on other people too, and you don't need to. I didn't need to, and I did. And I've tried to make up for that.
I think that if you look up great guy in the dictionary or Google it, you might just see a photo of Paul Isenberg.
That's nice to say. That's because you don't live with me.
So, in closing, if there's someone out there whose spouse or beloved is in the midst of a health battle and they're trying to hold it together, what would you say to them?
I would say to them, you don't have to do it by yourself. Go talk to a friend, go talk to a therapist, go talk to a minister or a priest, and be honest and let that out. And you can't do it by yourself. And the other thing I would say is, even though things are rough, even though things are really bad, try to find the good in the time together, because we're only given so much, and just try to sit in the closeness of being with that person as best you can, and make sure your priorities are squared away,
Mhm.
and do the best you can and reach out. Like, don't be afraid to reach out to people. Like, you don't know where God's going to bring you somebody to help you. And, for me, praying to God was a big thing. And if you haven't prayed in a while, try it out. It can't hurt.
Beautiful words to end with. I liked how you said, be in that moment with the person, be present with the person. And now what Bringing Hope Home does is it shares this very holy time with families
Hmm.
in a way that's so meaningful and practically meets the need. I want to thank you for turning your pain into purpose. Thank Nicole for her sweet and generous heart and the vision that made Bringing Hope Home become a reality. And for Miriam, who came in and was a friend to
Hmm.
you when you needed it the most. And now you have your own great love story. Ah, this should be a feature film. Who would play you, Paul?
Dennis Quaid.
Oh, I like
I
that.
like him. I like him. He's just edgy enough.
Just edging. All right, there we go. And I wonder who I'll have to try. So to our viewers, I just want you
Jennifer
to know.
Gardner from Miriam.
Oh, perfect.
Right?
Perfect.
Right?
Yes. Yes. And when you all meet Miriam, which you shall, because we are scheduled to do an interview soon, you will love her just as much as you have loved this time that I've had with Paul today. Paul, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Brenda. It's so nice to be with you.
You too. And thank you for tuning into this edition of The Alchemy of Pain. As I close out every episode, I will say this. If you are in a dark time, it's your chrysalis. Keep pressing, because you're creating strength in your wings so you can fly. And I'll be cheering you on. Have a great day.